All right, I made it to Coastal Carolina for the Republican runoff debate. It's a pretty place.
One minute. 1 minute. From 7 to 7. 7 to 7. That means you wake up tomorrow and get on work.
Ain't not many of us ain't there. I know.
I hope you like puppies.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah.
us throughout this series of debates, and ultimately on behalf of Gray Media, we're just thankful to be able to be a part of this historic primary, because again, this is the fourth and final GOP primary debate. It all comes down to this exciting night, and I already tell the crowd is ready to go. If you are able to limit your responses, that would be best, so that way we can go ahead and get through as many questions and topics as possible. So the fewer responses, the shorter responses, the better off we'll be when we are able to get through a lot of topics, a lot of issues. Again, many of you have been with us already, but just a quick reminder to recap how tonight's going to work. Again, this is on live TV. So think of tonight in 3 separate segments. We'll have the opening segment where the candidates are able to give their opening statements. They'll have one question, then we're going to go to commercial break. During that, it's going to be some awkward silence. That's okay. You can talk, you can enjoy that time, kind of exhale a little bit, and then I'll give you a countdown when we come back. And then we'll have the middle portion, that second segment. That'll be all about the discussion portion of the night. We'll have the questions from the panelists. We'll have another commercial break, some more awkward silence. That's okay. Then we'll come back for the final segment of the night with closing statements. And again, I'll give you a recount. Make sure that you're able to have that countdown before we come back from commercial break. And so we are able to do this. And then the only thing that's about different tonight is that the responses will be a bit longer. So the responses, each candidate will have 60 seconds for their answers, and we'll have time for a vote as well. So again, we're just glad to be here tonight, be able to bring this statewide. We'll be airing throughout the state, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Columbia, and in Greenville, the upstate. So we're glad to be part of this. We're thankful to be part of this. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the final 2 candidates for the GOP primary, the next governor of South Carolina. Attorney General Alan Wilson and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans. And again, another reminder here tonight, 3 segments, opening segment. We'll have the opening statements, 1 question and answer, commercial break, come back. We'll have the full question segment, commercial break, come back, closing statement. And they'll each have 60 seconds to respond to their answers. There will be time for rebuttal if mentioned or referenced. And so we'll be able to get underway here in about 2 minutes. If you can see here, we've got countdown clocks until we come back from commercial break. I'll make sure I announce it as well. So we'll do about 30 seconds, 15, and then coming back in about 10 seconds. Thank you all for being here again. Rocket can meet! Seconds. 90 seconds. Since there are only 2 of you now in this race, we are able to ask 1 question before we go to break. And you both mentioned your endorsements in your opening statements, so let's begin there. You both wanted President Trump's endorsement in this race. But Lieutenant Governor, you got it. President Trump has given you his, quote, complete and total endorsement, as well as government master. But Attorney General, you have received many other endorsements, including your former opponents, Congressman Ralph Norman, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and what you say is some 80+% of South Carolina sheriffs including the sheriff and the lieutenant governor's home county of Greenville County. So question to you both, Attorney General, you begin. Why should your respective endorsements matter more to voters as they go back to the ballot box 1 week from today? You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Well, first off, to receive the endorsement of over 80% of the sheriffs in the state of South Carolina because of my 15 years of putting families first and protecting families means a lot to me. I've overseen the prosecution of thousands of child predators, violent criminals, drug dealers, even corrupt officials. And it's because of that trust that the sheriffs and other law enforcement officials around the state have rallied behind me because they trust me to protect you. I also want to say to the people who ran for governor in the primary who are not on the stage tonight, to be able to build a coalition with them shows something that a governor must do. Build coalitions and alliances with people who were your former opponents. And I was able to do that. I want to thank Ralph Norman, Nancy Mace, and Josh Kimbrell for their endorsement. But the most important endorsement that is more important to me than anything, it's the endorsement of you, the voter. Next Tuesday or this week, if you go to early voting, you're going to walk into the booth. And the most important endorsement I want is the endorsement you would give me by voting for me to be your next governor. And I would be honored to have your endorsement. Thank you, and God bless you.
You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, so it's an honor to get every endorsement. It was an honor to get the endorsement of so many voters that put me in first place last Tuesday. But I'll tell you, it was a really special moment when the President of the United States, one of the most influential presidents of my time, called me and said, Pamela, I'm going to give you my full and total endorsement. And I know all the players in this race, and you're the only one that can bring the American First agenda into South Carolina, battling for our businesses, our workers, and our farmers. And then when Governor McMaster said to me, if you love the state of South Carolina, then you need to elect Pamela Abbott as your next governor. Those are two endorsements that are very near and dear to my heart, along with the countless others from the General Assembly that I've worked with, hand in glove, for the last 8 years. But your endorsement is what I need starting tomorrow. Early voting starts, and I need you all there, Horry County and the rest of South Carolina.
Okay, Governor, thank you. When we come back, we'll begin with our questions for our panelists, focusing on some of the biggest issues facing the state right now. We'll be right back.
You did not need to take it. It wasn't right. You talk about cutting taxes. You talk about getting rid of waste. How can you sit there and look at the people of South Carolina who are fighting to put food on their table when you took 120%?
Ladies and gentlemen at home, I became a career prosecutor because I wanted to be in public service. I have a wife and children on the front row, and I decided that I wanted to go into public service. I did not make millions of dollars selling DE products to businesses. Give myself a pay decrease. That was done by statute that the governor signed, that was determined by the agency head salary commission. And by the way, the governor and lieutenant governor weren't even put in that bill, so they couldn't turn it down. That's how this representation to you. She's manipulating it, folks.
Welcome to the governor. We have to move on. Lieutenant Governor, 15 seconds.
You know, when I first got into public service, I never could understand what people meant when they said, if Alan Wilson's lips are moving, he's lying.
Here tonight comes from Raphael James. Raphael.
Good evening. Now that everyone's a little warmed up, there are voters in South Carolina who take issue with the way judges are selected in our state. Should the governor, in your opinion, have more power than lawmakers in selecting judges? And would you say no to any plan that lets legislators keep most of that power?
Raphael, thank you. Attorney General, you have 60 seconds to answer.
Well, look, I've been advocating for judicial reform for at least 15 years that I've been Attorney General. In fact, I've always advocated for the governor to have equal power to the legislature, not more power. You want the three branches of government in equal tension with each other. Right now, the legislature has an outsized portion of power when it comes to the selection of judicial candidates and then the election of those judicial candidates. I believe that the governor should control the vetting and the nominating of candidates, and the legislature should have up or down votes. Judges make such important decisions that affect your lives, whether they let violent criminals out, whether they hurt small businesses or any business when they make rulings in civil court that could hurt them. So I believe it's important for the governor to have the ability to control, or at least nominate all the commission members and control the staff who do the vetting of judicial candidates. Let the legislature have the up or down vote, but at the end of the day, it's about bringing a balanced power of government so that the people have an advocate in the governor and who sits on the bench.
Well, thank you. This is something the governor I've been talking about for years, changing the way our judges are elected. So what did you do? Can confirm. Now, I think that's an amazing system, unless Alan Wilson was the governor. Because Alan Wilson called legislators personally to advocate for him being a judge. James Smith was the Democrat candidate against Governor McMaster the very first time we ran for office. James Smith was endorsed by Planned Parenthood. James Smith was out there saying that he would be the LGBT. Now, that would scare me if Alan Wilson thinks that that's okay would actually hold
Get him down!
on the bench.
There she goes again. I've spent my entire career in front of judges. I've spent my entire career working and fighting for victims. There's a reason 80% of the sheriffs in South Carolina have endorsed me in the race for governor. There's a reason that victims advocates around the state are behind me because of what I've done. What she is talking about is I called James Smith to ask him if he would uphold the rulings that overturned Roe v. Wade and then pass that on to legislators. I wasn't advocating for anybody. That is a lie. She is lying to you because she wants to manipulate you because she wants your vote. That's what this is about.
What we need to do is we need to do better, but there's other things we can be doing as government. As a business owner myself and sitting down with the National Insurance Association, I asked them, what if we got really impactful about stopping insurance fraud? Insurance fraud makes up 20% of your premiums. It's something nobody's talking to, but as a business owner myself, I know what a big impact that has. So when I'm the next governor of South Carolina, I will make a task force. South Carolina will be known as the state you do not want to commit insurance fraud in.
Good evening, candidates. The proposed casino development in the Santee area has sparked significant debate over economic development, local control, and of course, community impact. What is your position on that project? In addition, if you support it, what criteria would you use to determine whether a casino or a similar large-scale gaming development is appropriate for South Carolina communities?
Judy, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you begin. You have 60 seconds.
Well, that's a great question. It's something I've been talking about since I took my hat in for governor. I think as the CEO of this state, you have to look at everything that comes across your desk. And if it has a good impact, then you got to take it to the people when it comes to casinos. Because I've been to all 46 counties many times, and I've heard from you, the people of South Carolina. If a development came to South Carolina that was 5 stars, similar to the Greenbrier, we should look at it and see what economic impact it plays in that area. But before we make any decisions, it should be put on the ballot, and the people of South Carolina should be voting on it. Because nobody should have to live with industry in their backyard that they don't want.
Thank you. This is the second time I've been asked this question. I was asked in the hide behind. I'm going to give it to the people. Tell them what you think. Be honest. I tell folks all the time, I'd rather have your respect and your trust than your vote or your support. I'm sure that there are people out here who used to support me, who are very pro-casino, who are going to be doubling down and funneling lots of money to negative commercials against me this week, lying about me through the Lieutenant Governor's campaign. That's fine. That's politics. But at the end of the day, I made it abundantly clear that I have serious concerns about casinos in South Carolina because I'm talking to law enforcement, faith leaders in other states, and they have voiced concerns that they wish they could go back and roll back the clock on having them in their state.
Conservative in South Carolina.
Well, all I can say is this is the rantings of a true career politician. When someone on the other hand, that's facts. Mudslinging comes when the Attorney General and his packs and people put me on a television screen with drag queens. I have never met a drag queen. I've never met AOC. And for the record, I have never taken a lie detector test.
You may not have taken a lie detector test, but you certainly lie a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, she's lying to you to manipulate you because this is a misrepresentation.
Is that you got it, we could have taken it, we turned it down. Because it's not when you're in office. I knew my salary when I ran for this position. Listen to the General Assembly members, the men and women in the House who did a press conference this week talking about the fact that Alan Wilson called them personally. Michelle Arenas was so offended that a Republican Attorney General would advocate for a Democrat, and she came out on her own. You don't have to believe me. Believe me, people.
Yes, legislators that endorsed her had a press conference to support her. Y'all, shocker. Listen, I sat down with Ralph Norman, Nancy Mason, Josh Campbell. They all understood. They actually were originally critical of me. But when I explained it to them, they understood that what she is saying is categorically false. It's not accurate. I have been a conservative, pro-life attorney, fighting for life, fighting for conservative values in front of the courts, all the way to the Supreme Court and back.
Attorney General, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question 9, Eric Weisfeld. Eric.
All right, candidates, it is time to talk crime. Violent crime here in South Carolina has risen in several fast-growing areas, like right here in the Myrtle Beach area. What specific statewide strategies would you implement in your first year to reduce violent crime without overburdening local police departments?
Eric, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you begin. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. And that's a great question because I spend a lot of my time here and I know how important this issue is to everybody. And I've sat with businesses that are coming here from all over the globe that looks to South Carolina because of the amazing work that our men and women do in law enforcement. But they need help. And we have great state law enforcement agencies. I think we can utilize their resources to help at the local level, especially in areas that can't attract enough. And you know, I was so proud that Governor McMaster and I gave the largest pay increases to law enforcement in our state. I've always said that if somebody wants to be in law enforcement anywhere in this country, I want them to be right here in South Carolina. We need to make sure we take care of our men and women in blue. We need to make sure that we have prosecutors that don't plea down deals so we don't have career criminals back on the street. And we need those judges that will throw the maximum sentence at them so that we don't live in a state where the revolving door of crime keeps happening.
For 15 years, I have worked hand in glove with law enforcement all over the state of South Carolina. And because of that work, we have been able to get South Carolina down to the lowest violent crime rates in the last 30 years. But those statistics are of little comfort to the families of people like Logan Federico, a beautiful 22-year-old woman who was violently murdered by a man who should have never been released from prison. And one of the things I made a commitment to is I spoke to her father this past year. I see him sitting out here in the audience. I made a commitment to him that I would do everything, I would make it a priority as governor to close the gaps and the loopholes in the system that let a violent criminal out who should have never been out of prison. And I told Steve Federico, Steve, I will never let South Carolina forget Logan's name. I will never forget Logan's name. And we will work with the feds and we will work with the state legislature to ensure that Logan's name is remembered in legislation when we close those gaps. We're going to do that, and we're also going to put conservative judges who will put people behind prison forever and never let them out on bond.
For our seventh question of the night, Dr. Smith.
Yes. Earlier this year, each of you signed a pledge promising to work for universal school choice, which was defined as all education dollars following the child to whatever public or private education provider the parent chose. You still embrace the Palmetto Promise Institute pledge? And if so, how would you get a bold, universal school choice reform bill through the General Assembly?
Dr. Smith, thank you. Attorney General, you have 60 seconds.
Well, first off, I want to start by saying my children are the byproducts of public education, and I will always support public education. But when it comes to school choice, I do support it, and here's why. Growing up in the 1980s and 90s, my three brothers and I were all going into public school. This public school wasn't meeting my educational needs. My brothers flourished in it. My parents had to sacrifice to send me to a small Christian school that they really could not afford.
10 seconds. The future of South Carolina coming down to this. Hello and welcome to Conway and Coastal Carolina University. Tonight, a field of 5 Republicans down to just 2. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott and Attorney General Alan Wilson. The 2 going head-to-head in a runoff race, hoping to be the state's next governor. Good evening and welcome to Conway. I'm Justin Doherty, evening anchor for Fox Carolina News in the Upstate, and this primary race has already been historic. And tonight, history continues to be written. As mentioned, the current Lieutenant Governor and current Attorney General are now vying for your vote on June 23rd to be the Republican nominee for governor. Candidates, congratulations, and thank you both for being here. Also joining us tonight are panelists from across the state. Eric Weisfeld, evening anchor for WNDF in Myrtle Beach. Dr. Orrin Smith with the Palmetto Promise Institute. Judy Gadsden, evening anchor for WIS in Columbia. And Raphael James, evening anchor for WCSC in Charleston. Candidates, you've been given the rules prior to this debate. Your answers and responses will be timed. And now, let's get underway. You each have 90 seconds for your opening statements, and based on primary finishes, Attorney General, you're first. You have 90 seconds.
Good evening. I'm Alan Wilson, and I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. This has been the greatest honor of my life, serving as your Attorney General. I want to let you know that the issues that concern you voters of South Carolina are the same issues that concern me. Issues like affordability for your families, like quality of education for your children, like protecting our conservative values. While my opponent was cutting ribbons in a ceremonial job and wasting time in the Lieutenant Governor's office, I was out there fighting for you, fighting as a combat veteran, as a prosecutor, and as your Attorney General. In fact, I'm the only person in this race who actually had the courage to risk their career fighting for President Trump in a court of law. So, if you supported Nancy Mace because she was a maverick who shook up institutions, come join me in this fight. If you supported Ralph Norman because he was a conservative juggernaut who challenged the establishment, come join me in this fight. If you supported Ron Ray because he was a plain-spoken outsider businessman with a message of reforming our government, come join me in this fight. You are all welcome here. We can do this together. Folks, in this election, you don't want more of the same. You don't want someone who's going to cut backroom deals to try to get the next job. You want someone who will fight for your family. You don't want someone who will run ridiculous lies and commercials to try to manipulate you. You want someone who will tell you the truth, and I will be that person. Thank you so much.
Your opening statement, you have 90 seconds.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, the audience, for coming here today, my family, friends, and supporters. And you, Horry County, you came out strong last Tuesday for me, and I was There's two of us on stage now, and the choice will be really clear. You can pick a Trump-endorsed businesswoman, or you can pick a career politician. As your next governor, I will make sure I will finish what Governor McMaster and I started. We will eliminate your state income tax. We will make sure that you are never taxed out of your home. We'll get rid of useless regulations. We'll have true judicial reform. We'll finally get school choice across the finish line. But something I'm really passionate about is protecting your conservative voices in every institution across our state. If your tax dollars go to one institution that tries to stop conservative speech, I will be the warrior you are looking for. I will make sure not one dime of your money will go to them. I will make sure we take it away. Now, if you were a supporter of any of the candidates, even the one on stage, I welcome you to come to Team Evan, where we will get something done. We'll take a business-minded approach to government. Thank you all so much for joining, and don't forget, early voting starts tomorrow.
Y'all ready to nominate the next governor of South Carolina? Let me hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. I'm so glad y'all could join us here this evening. I want to take a few minutes and say thank you to some people. Not that we want to thank all of you, but thank you for being here. A lot of the folks who are here this evening who are donors to our party, we sincerely appreciate you. Those of you who are activists and volunteers who've been doing the work for our candidates, the folks who make the phone calls, knock on the doors, all the stuff that makes it possible for us to win elections. We sincerely appreciate you. We can't do it without you. Also want to say thank you for Tourism Works from the Grand Strand for being our host here tonight. Y'all give them a round of applause. Your party elected officials, will y'all just raise your hand if you're elected position in the party right now? See the hands. Y'all thank them. We've got some of our debate committee members who are here this evening. Y'all raise your hand. I know about 4 or 5 people here. Thank y'all for what y'all have done. Made it possible to put this together. This has been fantastic for our candidates. And also our elected officials and candidates. If you're an elected official or candidate in here, raise your hand this evening. Don't give them a round. At the end of the day, we can't win campaigns without candidates. Somebody's got to be willing to get out there and run, and we sincerely appreciate it. Y'all make it possible. But at the end of the day, when it's all over, for every race, we've got one candidate, right? One candidate, one team, one party, and our job is to go turn out the votes and win up and down the ballot in November. Can you agree to that? Well, we've been graciously hosted this evening here by the folks at Coastal Carolina. I want to introduce the president of Coastal Carolina, Jamie Weinbrink. Y'all give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamie Weinbrink. I have the privilege of being the 4th president here at Coastal Carolina University. I want to welcome you to our beautiful campus. And I want to address a question that I know has been on your mind all day. It's been gnawing at you. And that is, what is this Chance Up thing that we do here, right? Chance Up. So Chance Up, it's our Chanticleer. If you do it right, you can see South Carolina right in there in your fingers. So I encourage you to do that tonight. We are a university on the rise. For those that don't know about Coastal, we have over 12,000 students. We are the third largest university in this great state. We are putting forward programs. Yes, thank you. We are standing up programs that are supporting this state's economy in areas like education, nursing, computer science, engineering, public policy, business. And those are all really important for our students and for this state. But one of the other things that we really care about, that we really believe in, is that universities need to be places where we can have respectful discourse on challenging ideas. And that's why we're here tonight. I also want to recognize our work as a university in the community. We're a Carnegie Foundation recognized university for community engagement. In your program, there is mention of two institutions on campus. One is the Dyer Institute. The other is the Cincinnati Center. And Jacqueline Karlowski, who's here from the Dyer Institute, put a lot of effort into this. Let's give her a big round of applause. And lastly, I just want to thank the candidates for being here tonight. I want to thank our trustees. Many of them were in this room. I want to thank the administrators here. Thanks to our state and local leaders and government officials. And thank you all for being here. This is a really important night, and we appreciate it. And as we say in Teal Nation, Chance Up.
Thank you. Y'all give Coastal another round of applause. This is really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. So last but not least, we want to thank Gray Media, the folks who put this debate series together for us. They've done the hard work, the production work, and it's been fantastic for our candidates, but more importantly, it's been fantastic for our voters. All around the state, 7 different media markets, be able to hear live from our candidates. So with that, I want to introduce Justin Daugherty, who's going to give you the rules for the road tonight. Y'all give Justin a round of applause.
Tonight, again, early voting begins tomorrow. So candidates, you each have 2 minutes here tonight to give that final pitch to voters. And Attorney General, you begin. Again, 2 minutes.
I want to thank you, the people of South Carolina, for giving me the opportunity this past year of sharing my vision for our great state of South Carolina. As your next governor, my number one goal in everything that I do will be to make a living in our state more affordable for your families, to make our economy more profitable for your business, and to make our government more accountable to you. Your decision on who your next governor will be is much more than just about policy, judgment, character, courage, and the ability to inspire should matter too. How a candidate campaign signals how they will govern. Is their campaign one of lies, deceptions, and exaggerations, or one focused on fighting for your family? You deserve a governor who tells you the truth and demonstrates good judgment. Someone who has the courage to fight for you when it matters. As your next governor, I will fight to eliminate the income tax, reduce your property taxes, doge fraud, waste, and abuse from government. I will lower utility rates. I will fight to promote a kids' first education agenda, fix our crumbling roads and bridges, and modernize our government. I will fight for judicial reform. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking everyone watching tonight for your vote. I need you to get out and vote next Tuesday. It's your decision. It's your choice and no one else's. As your next governor, I'm going to make a solemn pledge to you. My pledge is this: I will always fight for you. I will always put you first. I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to serve as your Attorney General these past 15 years, and I look forward to serving as your next governor. God bless you.
You have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, first off, I want to take the beginning of this to address that backhanded comment that the Attorney General just made to me. He's finally telling the truth up here. I didn't hit the lottery to be born in South Carolina, but I raised my family here. I grew my business here. I created jobs here. And I left a thriving business to be your Lieutenant Governor. So all the people like myself who didn't hit that lottery of being born here, you just heard the Attorney General tell you, you're really not a South Carolinian. To the Spivey family, thank you so much for coming. My heart goes out to you. And I hope that you find justice. The justice that you didn't find in the Attorney General's office. It's important to have leadership and business know-how when you're the CEO of this state. And I had the courage. I had the courage to stand up for the Heritage Act when the Attorney General allowed the Calhoun Monument to be taken down. I had the courage, along with the governor, when the Attorney General refused to go to the Supreme Court to defend the Medina versus Planned Parenthood. We fought to keep court tax out. You know my vision. You know my heart. I've been with all of you for 8 years. I ask all of you humbly for your vote. Early voting starts tomorrow. I need all my supporters to come out, and I want all the supporters of the opponents who are no longer in this race, or some of the reporters that are some supporters who've seen a career politician at work and is no longer happy with that choice. Come over to Team Ebbett. We have a big tent, and we're going to do great things.
Show of hands, no matter who wins on June 23rd, are you willing to support the Republican nominee for governor? And to that end, thank you so much for joining us here again for our fourth and final debate.
Parents the option so they can give their children the opportunities that we never had when I was coming up. Thank God I had parents that could do that. But there are people out there who have children with individualized needs that need that special attention. They do not have the choice to send their children to either homeschool or parochial school or charter school or some type of other education. But if the educational needs of children growing up in the same house raised by the same parents can be that unique and different, then why are we going to do a one-size-fits-all policy for kids across the state of South Carolina?
As a mom of 3, I can tell you all my kids learn very differently. And I can remember how hard it was when I was starting my business to send my kids to parochial school. Because I wanted them to be taught the values at school that we were teaching at home. I don't ever want a parent to have to struggle like that. And I never want a zip code to define a child's educational success. And that's why, since I've been Lieutenant Governor, I've been in this battle for school choice. When I'm governor of this state, I promise you that I will work with the General Assembly, and I will work with all of you, because your voice rings in the ears of the General Assembly, to make sure, first and foremost, we get a full universal school choice vouchering system across the finish line. Parents need to be more involved in their children's education, not less. And statistics show that when parents are involved, children thrive. In states that have already done this, you can see the educational successes of their children skyrocket. South Carolina deserves full universal school choice.
For our 8th question of the night, Judy.
Candidates, I have a question about South Carolina State University. Several Republicans have signed a letter and sent it to the Budget Conference Committee urging them to block $5 million in funding for SC State University. My question tonight is, do you support that request, yes or no, and explain your position?
Judy, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you begin. You have 60 seconds.
Yes, I do support that choice. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for far too long, conservative voices have been silenced on our college campuses and our schools, and that can't continue. As a mom that had 3 children, one that is in college currently, the indoctrination that happens on our college campuses is terrible. And so when SC State rescinded my invitation to be their commencement speaker, my feelings weren't hurt that the students may not have wanted me. My feelings, it was more of a sense of bewilderment at their reasoning. They didn't want me because I was pro-life and pro-Trump and anti-DEI and pro-law enforcement. And where was the faculty, where was the leadership there to say President Trump has been the biggest supporter of our historically black colleges and universities? And this South Carolina governor, Lieutenant Governor, General Assembly has done all they can to make sure funding is balanced. If our conservative tax dollars aren't welcome on college campuses, then neither is our money. We will take it away if they try to stop.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
So first off, there's 2 separate issues here. Obviously, tax dollars go into institutions of higher learning that suppress conservative speech through the institutions, through the faculty, through the administration. Absolutely, I would be for not giving them tax dollars. But I would never support taking tax dollars because a bunch of kids who didn't like me or didn't like my politics protested on the campus. If we're going to be conservative, if we're going to be conservative to protect conservative speech, then we should be conservative in protecting all speech, even speech that which we don't agree with. Lieutenant Governor, I mean, I was obviously and honestly disappointed. I was really disappointed that you were getting down in the mud, mixing up with college kids. A governor has to rise above it. A governor has to be the governor for all people. Yes, we can oppose suppressive conservative speech. Better than that. And as governor, I will be a governor for all people, and we will protect conservative speech, but we will also protect speech we don't agree with.
I missed the whole point. Free speech is speech for all, but the only speech that's being stopped on college campuses is conservative speech. Hundreds of thousands of dollars he spent trying to lie to the voters that I was somehow a DEI queen.
Republican runoff debate for governor. There are now just 2 candidates left in this race. And now tonight, we turn to our panelists to ask about some of the biggest issues facing the state right now. And tonight, we begin with Eric Weisfeld. Eric.
Candidates, good evening to you. Welcome to Horry County. We're going to begin now with, it has been said that the state's declining road quality is not only due to lack of funding, but also the structure and the management of the Department of Transportation. Well, now that the DOT secretary is directly under the governor, what ways do you plan to create more accountability for DOT and also increase funding, but we're talking without raising taxes?
Eric, thank you. Lieutenant Governor, you begin. You have 60 seconds.
Eric, thank you. That's a great question, and one, as I travel all over the state, everybody is talking about. Now with DOT falling under the guide of the governor, what we need to do is something I've been talking about forever, regulations. In President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, he's trying to streamline, get rid of useless regulations so we get these projects done quick. Only a business person can understand that time is money. And when you delay getting these projects done, it ends up costing more, and you end up getting less work done. So when I'm your next governor, I'll make sure we get rid of useless regulations, work with the federal government to get rid of their permitting requests, and move these jobs forward much more quickly. Time is money, and when you add to your time, you don't need as much money.
General Assembly for making a few major, obviously putting the Secretary of the Department of Transportation on the governor's cabinet was a great thing to do, but there's so much more that needs to be done. The first thing we have to do is, through our Families First Audit Initiative, which my Lieutenant Governor will do, Mike Rickenbaugh will help us oversee, it's a top-down doging of all state agencies in South Carolina. There's lots of fraud, waste, and abuse. There's even corruption. In fact, 2 months ago, we indicted several DOT employees for fraud and corruption within the Department of Transportation. The problem is you can't indict incompetence or bad policies or bad regulations. So that Families First Audit Initiative is basically going to do a top-down audit of the Department of Transportation Transportation to identify where the money's going, why it's taking so long to get there, because at the end of the day, when that money's not getting to where it goes, it's hurting you. You're sitting in traffic, and I know you're sick of it, but what we're going to do is we're going to do a complete overhaul of the Department of Transportation. We're going to use innovative technologies like AI and other things to streamline government, make it more efficient, try to get that money on the road so that you don't have to sit in a parking lot on your way home from work.
We turn to Dr. Orrin Smith. Dr. Smith.
Now your position on tort reform, which are changes to the civil liability system that can affect who can sue, what damages may be awarded, and how liability is assigned. With an effort already underway in the General Assembly, would you support totally eliminating joint and several liability in South Carolina so that no one is left to pay more than his or her share of fault in a civil liability action?
Dr. Smith, thank you. Attorney General Alan Wilson, you begin. You have 60 seconds.
First off, I've talked to people on this issue all over the state of South Carolina. I've talked to attorneys, I've talked to large and small businesses, I've talked to associations, industries, and the one thing that everyone agrees on, that if you are harmed by the negligent act of another, then you should be able to be made whole based on a clearly defined set of laws and regulations that allow you to make the money that you lost. However, in our system of tort laws here in South Carolina, there are some out there who are engaging in frivolous lawsuits. These are lawsuits where they do not go after the person who is at fault for harming you. They are incentivized to go after the person with the deepest pockets. Whether it's people bringing on construction defect lawsuits, which drive up the cost of housing for you, or maybe bringing lawsuits for DUIs against bars that sold a beer at noon when someone drove 20 other places and was drinking for 10 hours after that. It's driving up the cost of doing business. It's driving up the cost of owning a home. And we need to have tort laws that keep the cost of living down for you people living at home. We need to make life more affordable by reforming that system.
Attorney General, thank
Well, thank you. That's a great question. It was a really proud day when all the businesses in South Carolina showed up at the Capitol. The governor and I stood between both chambers and said, go do your work. You can keep South Carolinians safe without destroying small business. But is there more left to do? Absolutely. And I've sat down with small businesses and associations and ones that have been hit really hard.
It's nice. Oh.
Very loud. That's what we were saying.
Sort of a legal, like, hey, oh, it's good. What do you think?
I am hoping.
Oh no, there's more Pam signs over there. Oh, maybe not. Okay.
That can change something today.